Howdy, everybody. Welcome back to the last video. It's a 20-minute long video, but there's a lot of really good stuff in it. So stay tuned, watch all the way through. There's a lot of good tips that I figured out the second time through. So just be aware of that. I was going to try to speed this up, but then I realized, oh man, that's a good thing. And oh man, that's a good thing. And so it's 20 minutes long, but that's okay. A lot of good stuff that you'll get to see. So this is me it's basically the elevators all the way through. So from start to finish working on the elevators. And then at the very end, I will have everything done on them. So that's this video. Here is me. I'm just working on the counterweight tips basically. And these were a lot. I don't know if the van switched vendors or what, but I had to work a lot to get those things lined up and straight and the way they were supposed to be.
Okay, testing my new Insta360 Ace Pro camera that I got. So we will see how it does. I might mess with some settings, so we'll see what kind of video we get. Have fun.
So I am using a new camera. The GoPros don't like the heat very much, and I bought a GoPro 8 and it died on me and it doesn't function anymore, and so I'm not sure how willing I am to go get another GoPro. So I got the Insta360. It seems to work pretty fine, so we'll see how it does for this video.
Okay, so I've been working on the elevators, the laser cut parts replacement of the elevators, and I've been doing a lot of it not on camera, so just FYI. So I do have, I'll show you here real quick what I do have, and I'll just do a quick video that actually gets posted, so if you want to see like actually doing it, go watch the original videos. The same exact thing, just a different piece of metal basically. But so far what I have is the left and right elevators. They're all primed up, ready to get put together. All of their stuff there. I was able to keep the trim tab. It was fine. I didn't have laser cut parts for the trim tab, so I didn't have to redo that, which was really nice. So it saved me some time, some money. So, well, not really any money, but some time, that's for sure. So I'll just be working on getting the elevators done.
Yeah, so there were a few things. There was about 4, maybe 5 pieces that I got that I didn't really need. But when I was going through the big, huge, gigantic, long list of, hey, what do you want replaced? It was much easier to say, hey, send me everything, and then I'll figure it out as I'm going through it. Um, so yeah, I guess that was a little bit wasteful, but it was 4 or 5 little things, so it's not a big deal, I don't think. So sorry, Vans, if I made you send me 4 or 5 pieces that I didn't truly need. But one of those pieces was the elevator or the trim tab. The trim tab, what's it called? I don't even remember what it's called, but that one piece on the trim tab, I didn't really need, so that's good. There was a couple of other ones, minor things, so not a big deal. And this is me just putting together the elevators, basically from nothing to elevator. Not a whole lot here. You do have to take your time when you're dimpling those rear spars because there's not a whole lot of space, and I have screwed one of those up before, so just make sure you take your time. I did find it was a little bit easier to attach those ribs to that spar using the rivet gun, not the squeezer, just because it's kind of an odd angle in a weird place, so the rivet gun seems to work a little bit better. There's Brad helping. I show him how to do one, and then he does the rest. And I did buy that 12-inch long back rivet piece for the rivet gun, and it's really nice. So I would recommend that one over the shorter one. It seems to be a little bit not better, but maybe easier to handle. So just FYI. And then we put the two halves together and start rivet them together. And I did have mentioned before that the pop rivets are not included in the replacement parts, so you do have to purchase those pop rivets that are used throughout the build. So they're the ones on the inside, the ones on the outside, pretty much everywhere. You're going to have to buy rivets for those. And then we go and buck the trailing edge spar there, the rear spar. And then you just start attaching it. And it's pretty easy. I do have to say, doing it the second time, they are much better looking than the first time. So that's something.
Okay, redoing the elevators. You guys know that. Laser cut parts, blah, 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 blah. But I have learned a lot, so that's a good thing, and I've gotten better at some things. One of the things that I wanted to show you was this corner right here. On the left elevator, it has you put those two, see if we can see them right there, those two rivets, and then there's two that go on the inside. That's where this cleco is. Those are on the inside of this guy, and that's why you left this open, is so you could get in there to rivet those guys. But these two, it says to use the flat end on your squeezer, and I tried that and I didn't like it. I did it on the last one and I didn't like it. But this time I had this guy. I don't know if you guys can read that or not. I bought this from is it tungsten.com? I forget where I got it. But it's fantastic. It's the BB12 tungsten bucking bar. And that angle that it has on it right here works out pretty doggone good for that backside. And you end up here, I'll show you real quick, with some pretty good rivets on the back of that. So your rivet gun with the number 40 rivet head on it, with this bucking bar, does those two rivets pretty doggone well, if I do say so myself. So that's one thing that I have learned doing this second time, which is a bunch of work. And I have to be honest, I was kind of distraught. Distraught's not the right word. I forget what the word is. I don't know what the word is, but I was kind of not looking forward to redoing all the parts. But I have done a few things a little bit different, and they actually came out a little bit better. So I'm kind of happy about that. I did finish. Here's another thing that you guys can look at. Was this the trim motor? The last time I did it, I had put the end on before I'd put my shrink tube on, so it was just the wires. But this time I remembered to put the shrink tube on, and I also have the shrink tube that you can actually put stuff on, and so it's actually labeled correctly on there. So that's one thing I did extra. And just FYI, the LP4-3 rivets, when you go to redo, well, I redid the vertical stabilizer, the horizontal, or the vertical stabilizer, the rudder, and the elevators. When you go do those LP4-3s, they're right here as well. right here and right here. I don't know if you guys can see those. So right here, right here, so those guys. And it's also what hooks your ribs together in here. So these ribs that are inside, the LP4-3 is what holds those together. So, and they don't provide those with the replacement parts, which really sucks. But you can go buy 50 at a time. I think it's $10, something like that, $14. You get 50 of them or buy 100 of them. You're gonna need 24 for each elevator. And then 3, 6, 9, 18 for the front. So that's 24 and 18. That's math. That's too hard for me to do. What's that? 42 for each elevator, plus the ones that go on the side here for that guy and for this guy. And I think that's it for the elevators. And then you also have a few, I don't know if you can see them, vertical stabilizer has a few, and then your rudder has a few. So buy at least 100, maybe 150 of those suckers if you're replacing those parts, because they are not included, which is not fun, but I would rather pay for the rivets than all of the parts. So that's one good thing about it. Oh, and you need 4 for this guy. So 1, 2, 3, 4. So you'll need a few extras. So have fun. Talk to you later. Bye. Okay, I was working on the laser cut replacement parts for the elevators. So here's what I got so far. I am basically done with that guy. And yeah, I don't know if you can see. Can you see how you can't really see how straight that is. It's pretty doggone straight. And this one so far is pretty doggone straight. I don't know if you can see it, but I'll put this guy up against there here real quick so you can see. Awfully doggone straight, right? And here's my trick for doing that. I saw a lot of videos where you can put it on a angle iron, and I've done that before. I have the angle iron down there. But what I found is if you do every other rivet, and I don't know if you can see that. Let me see if I can get that on there for you. Every other rivet is in the opposite way. And so what I do is these two I put in from this one. So I start in the middle, right, with one, and then I work my way out. And then this guy and this guy are going that way. This one and this one will come from this way. And I just work my way out one at a time each way, going back and forth, and it keeps it however lined up it is when you start. So that's basically what I do to keep those guys straight. So I'll let you guys watch me do that here, and then
yeah, so that's just I guess I happened to across it, but it keeps it nice and perfectly straight. So I highly recommend that. Other people have done other things. They've gotten, angle iron and, cleat it to that and whatnot. This seems relatively easy and it works. So highly recommended.
that is within a gnat's behind of being perfectly straight. Ugh, I love it. Okay, so finishing up laser cut parts to get them back to where I had them before the laser cut part incident. So that one is done. So this is where I was before, getting ready to attach the fairings, but everything else is done. It turned out beautiful. I'll pull the glue off of it before too long. And then this I still have to do, and I figured I had learned a few things, and in learning a few things I figured I would share those things. So hopefully you guys can see what I'm doing, and it helps somebody. So have fun. And it is just that easy. Your wife might get mad that you hacked up her broom handle, but you get a pretty nice looking edge there. Let me see if I can show you here real quick. So nice, rounded, beautiful little edge. And for the back one, since this is the bottom, it goes in the back. The top one has the break on it. I don't know if you can see the break, but there's a little bit of a break on that guy. It will lay on top of this guy. But what you have to do is you have to pull this lip back, because it needs to be like that so that this will be flush. So it has to kind of be flat when you rivet those. So you do have to spend some time just ever so nicely kind of bringing that lip back out to level. So that's it.
And I was originally, when I was doing this, I was like, holy crap, this is scary. You know, bending that metal, because if you bend it wrong, it's going to really mess it up. So my advice, or my one thing that I would let you know, is don't be so afraid of it. It bends pretty easy, and it's not too hard.
So on the second half, when you're folding in the, which is now the top, folding it up, you have to curl it inside this guy. And so you do have to like lift this guy kind of out of the way a little bit. But make sure you do the one closest to this first, because if you do this one last, and I'm speaking from experience, if you do this one last, you can't get your thing in there, your board in there all the way, and then you don't have this extra little bit to kind of mess with, and it just gets tough. So do this one first and then work your way towards the inboard side of the elevator. And if you do it right, check this out. I don't know if you can see that hole right there, but if you do it right, that hole lines up pretty doggone close. Let's see if we can get it there. Can you see that hole? So a little bit more bending on this bottom guy, and that should push those up a little bit, and they should be lined up nice and good.
Yeah, and so for the elevators, I mean, the bending of those things and getting them lined up, that's the key, is get them lined up before you rivet them. Make sure you pull out that bottom one, you kind of bend it out so it's actually flush against the one that you put over it. And that's the trick, really. Bend them enough so they're there, and then bend them back out so they actually fit nice and flush together before you rivet them. And it makes riveting them much, much easier. And that's pretty much it. See ya.
Just like that, done rolling the elevator edges. It only took about an hour and a half for both of them. So that's after doing it once and then doing it again with the laser cut parts, but much quicker this time. It's scary at first, but not so much after that. It's pretty easy after that, so cool. So yep, and now all I have to do is put the weights on and the trim tab on and the motor for the trim tab. And then they're done. So, cool.